All right, Microsoft announcing a new deal today to get its $69 billion bid for Activision Blizzard past UK regulators. Yahoo Finance's Dan Howley and Alexis Keenan are here to break down the story. Dan, let's start with you. So talk to us about what's in this refreshed deal.
Yeah, so the deal basically is separate from what's going on in the EU, and what this calls for is for rival Ubisoft to get access to Activision Blizzard's games in the cloud. So it doesn't have to do with the console specifically. It's about cloud gaming, and that would seem to be the UK's biggest concern. Now, what that means is that they would be licensed to Ubisoft. They would have access to Activision Blizzard's titles, their exclusives, and then Microsoft and others would be able to license it from there. Ubisoft does have its own cloud platform, but it's not as big as Microsoft's. And so now we're going to see Ubisoft essentially relicense things back to Microsoft after they pay Microsoft to get access to them. So it's kind of this weird circular logic going on here. But at the end of the day, Microsoft and Activision Blizzard seem to think that it'll satisfy regulators in the UK.
What do you think, Alexis? Do you think it's going to satisfy regulators?
That is a maybe right now. Now, this could end the global challenges that have been brought against this deal. But that just leaves the U.S. as a big question mark here, because now the U.K. is the only country left still challenging this accord after the U.S. had withdrawn its FTC litigation. That one was retracted by the FTC after an appellate court in the United States said it would not pause the deal, so it doesn't have the legal authority to stop it. But look, that doesn't mean that the FTC can't still go after this deal, can't challenge it. That brings in the DOJ too. They have the right to bring a suit. And look, these antitrust actions, they can be brought after even a deal is closed, so it may make sense for Microsoft and Activision to get the blessing of the U.S. authorities, but right now that's not in play. We've reached out to the FTC. They are not commenting on whether or not this UK sort of re-proposal will change its thinking along these lines. So far, we have 40 countries approximately that have okayed this deal. So yeah, leaving the big question mark here in the U.S.
All right, another question mark, gamers. Dan, we haven't talked about them. What does this mean for them?
Yeah, it could be a good thing for gamers, because part of this means that Sony will also get access to these Activision Blizzard titles through Ubisoft. And again, this is it's just, a wild kind of roundabout way of getting over the UK's issues. But Sony players would be able to get access to them. NVIDIA players would be able to get access to them. And this is all via the cloud. So it just means that there would be more choice for gamers to get access to these Activision Blizzard games. It also means that mobile gamers would likely get more access. And I think that's really where Microsoft is trying to head here. Mobile gaming is growing faster. It also is an area where gamers who don't have high-end PCs, don't have even regular PCs, rely on their smartphone, they can get access to these high-end games through Microsoft's Game Pass. And so that's really kind of where the idea for this goes for Microsoft. Get more people hooked through mobile. Sony doesn't really do that. Ubisoft doesn't really do that. NVIDIA can do that. Any of these services can do that, but Microsoft is really focusing on it. And that's kind of the end-all, be-all for them with this deal. So I think that, yes, it's very good for consumers across the board if they're able to access these games from the service of their choice. But then for Microsoft, it also helps to preserve that mobile element that's so important to them.